Hey, welcome back to another episode of the coaching vlog here at RX2 Movement. For the next couple weeks, I want to share with you a few really awesome cues that I picked up from my mentors when I was in the Level 1 seminar internship process. And these are all cues that I continue to use even to this day, and they're also cues that I like to share with my coaches who I mentor. The first cue I want to share with you is something that I got from Eric Preston, and it's to move with purpose. Every set of reps needs to have a purpose. And it's also very effective when you actually communicate the purpose to your athletes so that they know what you're expecting of them. But also, what this does is it directs your eyes to look for particular faults associated with that purpose. When I teach the air squat to a group or to someone who is brand new in their foundations, I always use the same layering plan to teach the squat. Before we even start moving, I want to see if the athlete can figure out where the setup position is. So feet underneath the shoulders, their toes pointed slightly out. I like to have their big toe push into the ground and their heels pressed into the floor as well. Abs are tight, everything's nice and set. And I'll have them do the hokey pokey, turn themselves around and find that setup position on their own. Then, after they've done a few reps of that, I'll have them just squat. And the purpose of this set of reps is just to see if the athlete can A, keep their heels on the floor, and B, if they can find a position below parallel. If it's ugly, I'm going to ignore that for now. I just want to know, do you know where full range of motion is? Do you know how to get below parallel? And do you know how to stand all the way up, open the hips, and open the knees? That's it. Keep it super simple, gives the athlete something that they can focus on, and also gives you something to focus on. So if they're not getting below parallel, then you say, hey, I need you a little bit lower, lower, lower. Okay, cool. Now you know where bottom is. Or, hey, keep your heels down. You're getting too far under your toes. It keeps your eyes, especially if you're a new coach, it helps you from getting overwhelmed by all the points of performance you're supposed to remember. If you only have to focus on one or two, that's going to make it a lot simpler for you as you're moving through this step-by-step process in teaching a movement. So the second set of reps when teaching the air squat, I'm just going to look to see, can they squat and also maintain midline stabilization? I want to know, can they keep their torso nice and upright? Can they keep their abs engaged? Are they rolling their back underneath? And at this point, this is where I might start to temporarily limit their range of motion. And notice I said temporarily. I don't want them to be squatting partial squats forever, but just for the sake of this small session, I'm going to have them limit their depth if they start to lose it below parallel, and just say, hey, for the next couple minutes, this is your bottom, but what I want you to focus on right now is I want you to feel what it's supposed to feel like to keep your spine neutral and everything in place where it's supposed to be. So that's the purpose of the second set of reps for the air squat. Then what I like to do is I like to focus on the knees pointing the same direction as the toes. And in many situations, if you can get the athlete to drive their knees out, it actually corrects the midline stabilization piece when they break parallel. If they're not engaging the right musculature in the squat, and having the knees out is a very important piece of the squat, if they don't have that part engaged, a lot of other things will fall apart. So often, getting the athlete to squat and keeping their knees out is going to fix that midline stabilization issue. Not all the time, but sometimes it will. And at that point, that's when I'm going to allow the athlete to go back down below parallel, as long as everything still stays nice and pretty. Now, the next set of reps I'm going to have the athlete go through is going to just kind of reemphasize maintaining a neutral spine while bringing attention and bringing awareness to the fact that the hips need to go down and back. Now, really important here, guys, a lot of times I see coaches overemphasize the hip hinge on the squat, and they'll have athletes do this and really over exaggerate that hip hinge, which isn't a good idea in the overhead squat or the front squat, because we don't want to teach the athlete to drop their torso in those two positions. But all we really are focusing on is we want to make sure that the athlete is squatting and not doing what I call the Beyonce. So let me show you. Let me stand up on this box real fast. So if I have an athlete start, what you'll see often is the athlete will do this. So they're arching their back to initiate that squat, which is not what we want. We want the hips to sit down and back. And you see how I sat down and back there. My hips actually went back and down subtly, but it didn't go back by doing this. Right? That's bad. This is good. So this is good. This is bad. So that set of reps, the focus there is on keeping the athlete spine in order when they initiate down and back. Okay, that's a very subtle thing, and I like to highlight that at the end because a lot of times that initiation with that pelvic tuck is what actually ends up causing that pelvic tuck in the bottom, that butt wink. Okay, The loss of lumbar spine is not the same as the butt wink, but you can create that butt wink if with a very subtle anterior pelvic tilt when you initiate the squat, and so that's why I like to focus that set of reps there. So if you're doing the math, we've done about 40 reps. We did 10 reps just trying to find the bottom below parallel. We did 10 reps of keeping midline stabilization. We did 10 reps of keeping the knees out, and we did 10 reps of focusing on the pelvic tilt in the initiation of the squat, which again often leads to pelvic tilt in the bottom of the squat. Now, after we got all those pieces together, we do another 10 reps and put it all together and make it nice and pretty. So, again, reps on purpose are super important because number one, it gives your athletes a purpose for each set of reps so they know what point of performance you want them to focus on. It also gives you an opportunity to focus your eyes to look for particular faults that are associated with that point of performance. So, in review, whenever you're moving athletes, we want them to move with purpose. Every set of reps has a purpose. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I see coaches say, all right, guys, we're just going to do 10 reps on your own. And it's like, that's just chaos. Because now you've lost control of the group. You've also lost the ability to really focus on a particular points of performance for the athlete to make them move better. And then they do 10 reps, and most of the time they're garbage. So don't relinquish your control of the group. Make sure every set of reps has a purpose. Let the athlete know what the purpose is so they can focus on that point of performance, and it also focuses your eyes so that you can start looking for subtle faults, which hint hint is going to be the topic of our next video next week. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you next time.